Hi, welcome back to another half hour of exciting Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Judy Nathans.
And I'm still Robert Winters.
And we're going to talk about
a couple of
stuff
we're going to talk
happening
about
in Cambridge. Yeah, more issues and
more
places.
Sort of civics.
Yes.
The thrilling.
There's so many meetings. Every day there's a meeting.
Yeah, it's for a while. I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Just sort of attending meetings and participating in meetings.
I don't know how you manage because you have all that other job that you do.
I'm sort of getting the feeling maybe a few more people are a little more interested in this too. So
okay.
I'm not the only one anymore.
Good.
So one thing that was interesting, we actually remember talking about this a couple of years ago about the Foundry.
Oh, I never did because I didn't even know about it a couple of years
ago. I think it was actually when the last city council first started meeting was I think it was in January or February of 2000 and would have been 14.
Yeah.
And they started bringing up the matter of the Foundry, and the city did a big study. They said this is how much money it's going to cost to rehab the building.
Would it be 14? All right. It was after the new city council. I see what you're saying.
When the new city council had come in there.
Right.
And then they had a big special meeting about it. And,
okay.
And it really kind of dragged on. It's amazing how so long some of these things drag on.
Yeah.
But in the end, a good idea was floated, which was to allow the newly revitalized Cambridge Redevelopment Authority to play a role.
Right.
Because they would have a little bit more freer hand.
Right.
Slightly, less restricted according to public bidding laws and whatever than the city would have to be to deal with. So anyway, the city council voted. I don't remember if it was unanimous, but I think it might have been to basically
let them have that.
Give the redevelopment authority charge of managing this. Again, always with an understanding that there would be some input from city council.
And is that a quasi-city agency?
Yeah, I mean there are 5 members on the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority board, 4 of whom are appointed by the city manager, and 1 is appointed by the governor.
But where does the funding come from?
A lot of the funding is fees that actually came with the development of the various projects throughout.
So it was basically funded by development.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember if there's any other city subsidy that goes to them, but it acts pretty much as an independent authority.
Okay.
Accountable at least sort of morally to the city.
Okay.
And the appointments that were made include Kathy Bourne, Margaret Drury, former city clerk, and other
excellent appointments.
Were really great people
Jason
and
Zog
totally in sync with what the city's priorities are. Especially in terms of developing housing in the area.
Right.
So I wouldn't have expected necessarily that the Foundry Building would have landed in their court, but in fact it did. And I'm pretty respectful of the process. People can criticize outcomes all they want, but I think it was a pretty fair process ultimately, even if it took a long time. And I think you either saw or attended a meeting in the summertime?
In the summer, I actually watched it at home, and I took notes, and I thought it was, presented, but, and then I guess it was brought up on the policy order, and people got very upset at the last city council meeting, right?
Yeah, it was a recent city council meeting. So what happened was, you finally put the project out there with some sort of particulars and asked people to bid
on it,
bids, which included actual proposals of what you want to do.
Right.
So in the end, it was only one bidder that actually.
And you think that's because of why it was just too difficult building, or?
Well, it's sort of in a way analogous to what's going to be happening or is already happening with the Volpe Transportation Center. Is that when you put so many constraints on a good thing, eventually it's hard to make it be a good thing.
Money. Right, and it's hard for a developer to say, how can I make money if I have,
Now, I don't think there was any, in spite of what some of the talk that I heard happened at this recent committee meeting of the Neighborhood and Long-Term Planning Arts Celebration and everything under the subcommittee.
Anymore.
Right, I always just write it as the NLTP committee.
Okay, all right.
That somehow the city always was willing to spend a lot of money, on an ongoing basis. I don't remember hearing that, but Councilor Mazza was quoted saying that the city very much said we're willing to sink a lot of money into this. I don't remember that ever.
Well, I'm sure there's notes somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll
What I
have to fact
remember is
check
there was a good study that said how much money it would take to outfit it, and then there were different proposals for how to do it. The city agreed to drop some number of millions of dollars up front in initial fitting out, just
right,
basically
yeah.
bringing certain things up to code, but then the rest would actually have to be part of the fuller proposal.
Right, how to make money from it,
And
which,
yeah, there would have to be some sort of revenue generation
Right.
that would be associated with the building.
right,
Some just from renting to nonprofits at reasonable rents, but also from some others, just
Yeah.
to defray some of the costs.
right, because it can't just be for the community,
Right.
because community, you want it to be free.
Now, some of the complaints I've been hearing, I can't say that I'm fully understanding what the complaints are,
complaints?
and they may be legitimate, but I certainly don't understand them. There's going to be a shared auditorium or community space, whatever. And then some of the objections would say, well, no, that should be for exclusive use by the community.
No, nothing there can be exclusive use.
You know, this is sort of a
private,
in a
yeah.
24-hour world. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to have a space that's really useful just
Right.
sitting there empty.
Especially a lot of these places that would rent it are doing it late in the evening.
Yeah.
Communities aren't going to be there till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so there's got to be a better way of doing that. So,
Yeah.
I didn't find any particularly objectionable aspects.
I'm going to wait
of
to
the
actually see a
program.
report on the meeting, and also if they
Yeah.
ever get the video of the meeting online, which supposedly is going to happen.
Yeah,
So
but it was
I will
interesting
watch
that there seemed to be a bit of a conflict developing. Now, remember, this is not a committee of the whole. This is just the neighborhood long-term
So
planning.
who
and Center
was there?
Committee.
And it was Jan,
There was at
Nadeem,
least the
Greg
chair
Kelly, you
was
said?
Nadeem Mazin. There was also Councillor Jan Devereaux and
Mark.
Craig Kelly. Was Mark at there as well?
I don't know, I'm asking.
He may be. I'm not
So
sure.
you're going by what was written up in the Chronicle?
In the Chronicle,
Okay.
yeah. And you know, so you see one point of view being taken by Councillor Mazin, which is that we should put more money in, get much more community control. and
Right,
da-da-da-da.
it should be more for the community, period.
Councillor
Yeah.
Devereaux, basically her quote was, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, and there's already a lot of effort going into this, and maybe we
Right.
should work cooperatively with
Right.
the vendor who was
Makes sense
chosen
to me.
for the contract. By the way, nothing's been signed yet. you know,
Right,
so
well,
this
that's
is-
the whole point, which
yeah,
is
we're
why you can
leading
have
up to
meetings
it.
about it,
And
yeah.
I think there's at least the effort from at least one councillor just trying to derail it, but some are saying, well, maybe that's not the best thing either. Craig Kelly said he trusted the professionals the city hired to decide how the space would work best. So councillors are definitely lining up on either side on this one.
Okay,
In a way, I'm not surprised because I kind of thought that ultimately there was a kind of not a majority voice, but there was a minority voice that ultimately wanted the entire space just to be for the community, and who the community is.
and who's going to manage that?
Well,
Who's going to make money from that?
no, don't you know? We'll just sort of let my good buddies over there, they're all well-meaning and whatever, but I don't buy it. But anyway, it's still in flux, and we'll see what happens. It was a little bit of analogous to some of the controversies happening with the out-of-town news, in that there are some who feel that it should just be used for some community space, and others feel maybe it could be as I pointed out, maybe it could be a really great hot dog
I
stand.
read about that. Yeah,
right?
people didn't like that.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of people liked it. But, you know, again, you can use the term hot dog stand more metaphorically, meaning a place that people can actually go up, and it's more of a social place. And, you know, a lot of times having food is a sort of a big part of having a real social space. So, but, you know, there's definitely differences of opinion are developing. You know, people are kind of lining up on different sides, whether to be more of a cooperative approach or maybe a more...
I don't know, given the election and given what's happening in our country, I think the cooperative approach is what people want. You've got to find common ground, you know, we can't be polarized.
I'm sort of of that breed.
And I'm more hopeful of that happening in this city, actually,
Yeah, ultimately, I think...
than it seems.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be okay.
I think we're going in that direction. Now, another thing that was sort of interesting, just talking about people taking sides, again, at least based on things that have been written up in the Chronicle.
Yeah, they had a lot of good articles.
I'm going to personally thank the Cambridge Chronicle. My preparation for tonight was very much based
I noticed
on
that, yes.
reading the Cambridge
And you also
Chronicle.
said the reporter's leaving? Or one of the reporters?
Yeah, Natalie Handy, who I think has been just a top-notch, objective
We always wanted her as
reporter.
a guest. You should get her as a guest.
But she's now moved up as reporting in Burlington.
Oh.
So she's gone. But you know, maybe we could talk to Amy Saltzman.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
have her come
Amy
in.
Saltzman,
I think that'd be
okay.
great. But
Yeah, so this is interesting.
So the interesting thing was that the question of the charter schools, which is still, the fur is flying on the TV ads still. I can't make sense out of any of the ads anymore because they are contradicting
Maybe
each
I'm
other.
not watching. I watch cable. You watch regular
everything I
TV.
get is broadcast television. So I get it. Believe
you
me,
get more of it. Yeah.
Well, just to jump into the major national election scene again. I cannot tell you if you get. I don't know if people who get cable see this as much as we do, because you can locally target your advertising with cable, but you can't do that with broadcast as well. So I get the ones that are broadcasting from way north. So we're filled with New Hampshire ads.
Oh no, I get that too. I get that
Kelly
too.
Ayotte.
It's all over. No, you're right, and I think they're feeding that on. Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, the local stations must all be basically.
They're making a lot of money.
They're making a ton of money.
They love elections. Yeah, Ayotte Hassan fight is like. I haven't seen anything about the governor. It's really Ayotte Hassan.
You definitely get the impression that there are at least some people, and I think this may be true. Who believe that, in fact, the fate of the balance in the United States Senate is all going to come down to that.
Well,
and it might.
People feel that the fate of the country's going to come down to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
The swing state.
Yeah. But we're just inundated by it.
Yeah. So getting back to the charter question.
So when I'm watching a television program, I either get Maggie Hassan Kelly Ayotte ads, or I get question 2.
What about marijuana? I heard that's coming on now.
We're starting to get one. I haven't seen any against it, but I'm definitely starting to see ones for it. And I know they got a good bankroll to support.
Has there been any city position on it yet? City councilors on that one?
I haven't heard any.
Okay, maybe it'll come up soon.
Yeah.
But so the charter.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So locally there are some city councilors and school committee members who are taking one side, and you might think, well, everybody is going to be anti-charter, but that's not entirely true.
So far it's only 2, right?
Only 2 publicly, and maybe that's all there is too. So there was a recent column submitted to the Cambridge Chronicle from Mayor Simmons, Vice Mayor Mark McGovern, Councilors Craig Kelly, Tim Toomey, arguing against question 2, which is the expansion of charter
was the same
school.
article.
In addition to school committee members Kathleen Kelly, Richard Harding, and Freddie Fantini.
Okay.
Right, urging people to vote no on question 2.
Not Emily Dexter and not.
Right. Well, I don't know where Emily Dexter stands on this.
Well, she could be like Elizabeth Warren. She doesn't want to say anything until.
Yeah, maybe. Now, what's interesting is that now, there's been some interesting back and forth, sometimes out in the open, sometimes a little more covert, between Councilors Kelly and Devereaux on the charter school thing, even during the run-up to the municipal election last year.
You're talking about Craig Kelly and...
well, Jan Devereaux was, I think her position was a communications director for the community charter school in Cambridge.
The one in East Cambridge.
Which is housed down in East Cambridge currently. And so, it was very... So I don't think Jan Devereaux was particularly overtly speaking pro-charter, but Craig Kelly was obviously trying to call her out on it during the lead up to the municipal election.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, so now you got question 2.
Yes.
So people are going to take sides or not. So a number of the elected city councilors and school committee members come out against question 2. They do not want to expand the cap. Now, I fully expected Patty Nolan on the school committee to come out in support of expanding the cap.
Why did you fully expect her
Because
to?
Patty Nolan, some years ago, before she was on the school committee, was trying to start her own charter school.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. She even approached me to sort of be part of it, but I said, nah, I got a job.
Wow.
And I remember when she was, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here, but I remember when she was running back then, I said, Patty, you don't have to run away from the fact that you were supportive of a charter school. In fact, there'll be at least, remember, this is proportional representation. You've got to win 1/6 of the votes.
Right.
I said, I guarantee you there's more than 1/6 of the city residents are pretty okay with charter schools.
Interesting.
It's probably considerably more, maybe a third, maybe a half, I don't know. So I said, if you're the only person who's speaking in favor of charter schools, and then everybody else is bad-mouthing them, I think that actually would help you.
Work in her favor.
Work in your favor.
Did she take your advice?
I think she did, and she, as a first-time candidate, she topped the ticket.
Wow.
I don't think it was just because of that, by the way.
Was that the same year Alice ran? It must have been after, because Alice was always the first.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was
interesting.
So I fully expected Patty Nolan to be supportive of the charter school question. Jan Devereaux now co-signed a letter. The two of them put in with Patty Nolan.
I did read that. Yeah.
You know, separating themselves from the rest. Wrote a column for the Chronicle, supportive of question 2. So people are taking sides, and I mentioned that here because we were just talking about how, like on the Foundry issue, people are kind of aligning, and it's not in the ways I necessarily would predict.
Exactly.
Which I think is a healthy thing.
Right,
know?
Just like what Jan said with the Riverside zoning, people are going to be surprised. So I think,
Right. Well, Craig Kelly used to be predictably on lining up on certain things, and now not so much so.
Right.
You know, certainly, I think on the city council side, there were some people were believing that this entire 2-year term was going to be nothing but Carlo and Devereaux Mazin lining up on one side and 5 or 6 people on the other side of every question. And actually, it's been pretty.
It hasn't been that
I'm happily seeing some breaking.
People are
they're
independent of their own views.
The more people can.
How many charter schools are? I think in that article it said there were 3 in Cambridge. There's the one in East Cambridge. There's the Benjamin Banneker,
and there's certainly the one at Essex Street, which is the Prospect Hill Academy.
Is that Cambridge?
That's in Cambridge.
That's Somerville, but
They started in Somerville.
They take kids. Also the thing is, it might be in Cambridge, but they can take kids from anywhere.
Right.
So it's not necessarily Cambridge kids whose tuition.
But they're part of a grouping. I think they still have the school over on Webster, over in Somerville by Union Square. They may even have another building. I'm not sure. So they're kind of creating their own little mini school system, the Prospect Hill Academy people.
And I think at least 2, were they all started by parents, or some of them are now getting some other funding?
They're not just parents. I think there's some people who are separate from, but I think many of them actually had children, actually were students within the programs.
Yeah, that I'm saying it's usually the parent-led ones that are... So anyway, and also the roundtable is going to be in place of a city council meeting. Will be on the 24th.
Yeah, I think October 24th.
Yes, and it's changed to charters.
Yes, right. So originally that was supposed to be on elections, including just generally all about elections, and that's kind of a little premature. I think there's one city council committee. Kind of strangely, I don't know what neighborhood and long-term planning has to do with elections, but hey.
Because there is a separate meeting on that.
Yeah, there's absolutely no consensus coming out of that committee at all.
Yeah.
And so what are they going to do? Throw something and have a roundtable with the... So anyway, that got trashed, and they're instead talking about charter schools. Now, that issue itself turned into something that came to a vote at City Council because Councilor Devereaux wanted to be made a regular meeting, didn't want it to become a roundtable for charter schools.
Well, especially because it had been changed on the order. I think Mayor Simmons had put it in the order to change it to that.
It's liable to be a dog pile on the one councilor who's publicly...
Well, you don't know who's going to come out. Well, there's no public comment.
No public comment.
And it's not televised.
Right. That's right. But so it might still just sort of turn into I probably would go as well.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
Yeah. It's not 100% clear to me that it's 8 councilors in favor, opposed to question 2 and only 1 for. I mean, there's some councilors who haven't spoken up about it who might
some school committee people haven't spoken up either.
Feelings about this. You know, which to me, this is a healthy thing. I don't want everybody to be ideological about anything.
No, I think people should pay. There's been a lot of stuff on the local news, radio at least, GBH and BUR, if you want to know both sides of the issue.
Yeah, and I'm sort of trying to keep a pretty open mind on that, as well as on question 4, which is the legalization of marijuana.
Right.
I'm really supposed to sort of say the proposition to... you know what we all should do is you should read your... Exactly. Everybody's going to get their little...
I got mine a couple weeks ago. I haven't read it yet, but it's all in there.
I do read it,
now, speaking of marijuana, there is some kind of committee meeting on the medical marijuana district, and I wonder if some of this is going to come up in that.
It may, but
is it before
it's
the
still
election?
About medical marijuana. But
do you have a listing?
You know, in spite of some assurances from some city councilors, there's going to be a dovetailing of medical marijuana and the recreational marijuana. I think the meeting we went to with over in at the library recently, even the proponent, people who are in favor,
Square Library,
people who are working in favor of question 4, the legalization of recreational marijuana. Said, and I didn't know this, that some of the places which are currently medical marijuana dispensaries would have an option of converting. They're subject to regulation, of course, to become that plus recreational.
Well, guess
I always
what?
suspected that was
The
going to be
meeting
the case.
is after the election, which is interesting.
Right, but the thing
So-
is that the meeting, the ordinance committee meeting
Yeah.
of which you speak, is
Yeah.
actually a meeting that's, I believe, has to do with the proposal. It's a city
Delete the
council
existing,
petition.
medical
You know,
overlay district, creating.
I and
yeah.
others have pointed out that this nonsense of having these one-off zoning
Right.
petitions every
Right.
time somebody wants to open up a
Yeah.
medical marijuana dispensary is ridiculous. Because they originally set up these two zones at either end of the city.
Well, maybe it'll be more interesting because there will have been a vote on it, and maybe.
Well, what they
they'll
want to do is they
incorporate
want to basically make it so that it'll be part of a table of use in various zones of the city, so you won't have to, you basically have to go and get a permit, but you won't have to do a zoning petition in order to do it. And that just seems to me.
Is that
the
what
right
that
way to
meeting's
do it.
about? Yeah.
I mean, that's a city council petition that came out of some discussions.
Discuss the zoning
at the
provided
ordinance
to
committee
delete the, okay.
About the right, so we've got, basically, I think it was an acknowledgement that we've got to do this a better way.
All right, well, that's good
And I
then.
think that's a very positive
Okay.
development that they're going to do that. But honestly, everything they do right now having to do with medical marijuana, they have to do with the
Yeah,
with it,
Yeah.
keeping in mind the possibility. I don't know what the probabilities are in terms of that question, by the way.
I think people might vote for it.
Well, it was originally, the polls were saying it was mainly people
Yeah.
were leaning toward it, and then they
Yeah.
were saying they were leaning against it. None of the polls ever said more than 50% either way. It was sort of a lot of undecided
Yeah.
still. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I know there's a lot of local elected officials in Boston especially who are very much opposed.
There are
to the
more. Healy's
legalization.
opposed to it. The governor's opposed to it. Like a lot of top
Mayor of
officials
Boston is opposed to it. A lot
are
of
opposed
police
to it.
officials are
Yeah.
opposed to it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But there's going to be some good. Yeah, they're very compelling ads I've seen on the television in favor of it, though. You
Well,
know, and honestly, the meeting we went to, I thought Will Luzier, who was giving a presentation about
Yeah.
that, it made a very good case. I'm still
Well,
not,
yeah,
I'm
but
still
then
not
you hear
decided.
people from other people saying the tax thing isn't as great as it could
Yeah.
be, and there's something different about the Massachusetts proposal. I've got to read my booklet.
Yeah,
I'm going to be better informed next week.
you know, regardless of
Yeah.
really the sort of quality arguments, I guess the one thing that keeps nagging at me is this sort of the uncorking of the bottle.
Yeah.
The complete legitimization of recreational marijuana as sort of a, you know, well, I mean, already I'm
Yeah.
seeing places opening up that are going to become head shops everywhere
Oh,
again.
God.
But then again, as I pointed out to a friend of mine who was opposed to Question 4, I said,
Yeah.
you know, Marty, when we were youngsters,
Yeah.
you know, back where I grew up, at the back end of every record store, there was like Dayglow, Peter Max posters.
Oh, there used to be,
black
what do you
lights,
call
and
these stores?
people buying.
There was
well,
a
the head
name of
shops.
the, yeah, there was
there was
one
a
in
head shop.
Manchester, New
They were
Hampshire. That was a
everywhere.
Vista volunteer.
You know, so the notion
Yeah.
that somehow they're going to start
Yeah,
proliferating
and it
out,
was
you think,
illegal
oh,
then. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
so it's, you know, so it'll just be a return to something that
That's
I
funny.
remember. So I'm not so concerned about that. I think I would be concerned if, in fact, the
It's
cork gets, if it pops so that you have a, like, I don't want to see Cambridge become sort of the, you
Place
know,
to go.
recreational marijuana. I don't want to see any one community become sort
Wait,
of like
wait a minute.
the-
Actually, each community can vote against it,
yeah,
right?
and that's what, and
mean,
you know,
if
Cambridge
it's
won't.
passed-
Cambridge won't forbid it. So therefore, if
You
others,
don't know that. You don't think so?
the votes will be there to allow
right.
it, I'm sure.
But they can set how many. They can say maybe
they
only
can
two
regulate
places.
it,
They
yeah.
can regulate.
But
Okay.
you know, it's like, you know, what can potentially happen in some other matters. Like even with medical marijuana, other places around us were enacting zoning to make it impossible.
Yeah.
We said we'll allow it.
Yeah, but Mula, is there any
And
that
now-
actually exists that's functioning in Cambridge yet? And how long has
don't
it been
think
a
so.
rule?
Yeah,
About-
I don't know.
It's going
I
to
don't
take
know.
forever.
Anyway, you know, it's a coming, you know,
Yeah.
so we'll see really where it heads.
All right.
But it's coming soon. So, you know, how far is November 8th is actually pretty.
It's
what?
well, today is a Tuesday,
3.5
and the
weeks
election
away?
day is a Tuesday. It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks away.
28 days, yeah.
Whoa.
And as we mentioned it during the last half hour, I can't wait till November 8th because
I know.
I am so sick
Really?
of
But if
the
you're sick of
presidential
even
campaign.
deciding who you're going to vote for, which is pretty amazing if you don't know. But anyway, why
that funny?
don't you show that? What?
Oh yeah. So actually, so we got a few more minutes here. Let's go here. So It wasn't in effect for the primaries, but in
No.
effect for the regular November election. So currently, absentee ballots are available at the election commission. So
Only
if
till
you
what
ever,
date though? November 7th?
that
I
goes
think you
actually,
put?
yeah. So it's right up
Yeah.
to very close to election day. But something new, and we did promise to speak of it, so we'll touch upon it right
Mm-hmm.
now. They are, because the state passed the law to allow early voting, so-called early voting, which is you don't have to have an excuse. You can just
Right.
vote early if
Right.
you want. So Cambridge is running 11
No.
days.
11 days, but only
11
5 sites, I think, but enough.
5 different
Yeah,
sites.
but
So
you can
let's take a
just,
quick look here.
yeah, see if
all
you
right?
can read this.
So
The
as
first one's obvious, it's the election
at the
commission
election
office.
commission, that's in mid-Cambridge. The police department, which is down in East Cambridge.
6th Street.
Right, these are all Monday through Saturday, October 24th.
Right,
to
some are
29th.
earlier hours towards the last week, they're later hours.
Right.
We have to look at each night.
Yeah, none of them are open on Sunday, but then the
No.
following week, right leading up to election day, it's
Yeah.
it's October 31st, Halloween through Friday, November 4th. So it's 6 days in one week and then 5 days the following week for a total of 11.
Right, but
So
look at the Cambridge Water Department, so if you're over
Cambridge
by
Water
Fresh
Department, which is out
Pond,
in West Cambridge.
noon to 8.
Main
Several-
Library, which is
I like
also
that
in
one, the main,
Cambridge.
and O'Neill Library.
And the O'Neill Library on Ringe Ave.
That's north to this, look at that, all those
Peabody
places.
Avenue, yeah. So we got 5
Yeah.
sites. The hours of operation are not identical in all of them.
No, but they're, most of them are at least till 5 and,
they're very
and
similar.
let's say 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
then some are till 8.
And take note all that there's
Yes.
actually Saturday hours in all of these cases here as well. So
I don't
anyway,
see any
yeah.
Saturdays at all. Where do you see a Saturday?
It's the 6th day of the first week in every one of them.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
So I'm going to personally be interested to see how people use this. So it's 11 days.
Right. How many
I don't
people
think you're
use
going to
it?
have throngs of people every
No.
day. There may be some days where there's virtually
You know,
nobody
some
showing
states have
up.
already been voting.
Yeah, that's right.
There's been mail-in
Yeah.
voting in some
But,
places.
but
yeah.
you know, it may not be economically sensible to
Right.
do 11 days forever, but it'll be interesting
Right.
to see what days are popular and which sites are popular.
And I think for the future, it'd only be for presidential anyway. Right? They're
I
not going
don't
to do
know
this
what
for
the
municipal. Come on.
Oh, it would be true for state elections
Yeah.
as well, because this is a state law.
Oh, state. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So anyway, that's a coming.
All
so,
right.
Anyway, so whatever you do, vote. And make
Yeah.
sure you're registered. The deadline's
October
coming up soon.
19th,
October
right.
19th. So
Yes.
anyway, we're down to 5 seconds here.
Oh,
so I
5
guess
seconds.
that's it. So I'll see you next week on Cambridge Inside.
Out.